PRS has come out with some new models. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's always a great day when I get a call from Jean over at PRS. She's like one of the most laid-back people ever. It never feels like a business deal with her. It's just, we're chatting about guitars. She's just like, hey, we've got these new guitars. If you want to check any of them out, let us know. To which I reply, yeah, this, and this. And then 2 weeks later, you get a couple of mystery boxes showing up to your house. So if nothing else, shout out to Jean. Thanks for being you. But it looks like they have sent me the new SE McCarty models, the 594. You know, it looks like other things we look at on our channel, but it's their own PRS flavor to it. It's a nice single cut. And of course, we still got our cool afros on these. I've enjoyed the McCarty models that I've demoed on the show before because they're familiar, but just a little bit different. Like you've got this little comfort carve back here. You've got your signature PRS swoop in the cutaway. Traditionally, you still have a maple top as far as your construction, but you've got the straight string pull headstock style. And this particular model still comes with the bird inlays if that's your thing. But this new model is being offered at $949 and it comes in 3 different hues. You've got the vintage sunburst, which we're looking at now, the faded blue, which is looking pretty sweet might I add, and a black gold sunburst. However, this wasn't the one I asked to review. They sent me 2. Because I thought this model was really cool. Not only is it offered at a slight price discount, but it's just completely different from what I've reviewed from PRS before. Look at that. You don't have the maple top. It's just the mahogany. So it kind of gives you that cool chatoyant effect sometimes on certain examples. It just completely transforms the vibe. You could compare it to like an SG, but this is like Les Paul body thickness going on. So it just makes it different enough that it made me get excited and want to review this new model. So that's pretty much the biggest difference between these two guys. This one has the mahogany top, this one is a maple top with a flamed veneer over top of it. But it's a real wood veneer, it does move. As far as the spec sheets are concerned, they look identical otherwise. But these mahogany ones being offered in vintage cherry and McCarty tobacco sunburst are a little under $100 cheaper at $829. So to me, this one targets a very important price point to me. Like anything over that $850 point is when I start comparing it to a whole bunch of other stuff. The first impressions here, it's got a good weight to it, not overly heavy, but not too light. It's got that cool chatoyant effect both on the top and the back. I almost think this is just 2 pieces of mahogany put together. I don't think we actually have a mahogany top. But before we throw this one on the workbench, some of the other new PRS guitars that caught my attention, the Cobalt Smokeburst Modern Eagle 5, that finish is poppin', but check out the Jade Smokeburst DWCE 24 Hardtail Limited Edition. That green with the black hardware and the maple fretboard, that's killer looking. And then they've got that dog-haired finish SE hollow body too. So if you're interested in checking out more PRS guitars or you want to do like a new guitar day thing or something, feel free to hit me up and we can see if it's possible. But today's review and demo is sponsored by PRS. They provided me both of these guitars in case that wasn't abundantly clear already. But let's go ahead and throw this on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Alright, this thing's looking beautiful on the bench. So they call the carve of this one shallow violin. You have a flat area right here in the center, but it's just right on the edges that you get a gradual slope up into a flat plane. Let's see what these pickups are. They call them the PRS 58/15S humbuckers, and they just look like this on the back. And I will say they have very short leads, so they've cut those to size perfectly. But they're just out of the way enough for us to see the long neck tenon, as well as our bridge pickup cavity route here. And looking at this, I don't believe this has a top at all. It's just a 2-piece mahogany body that they carve into this shape. So that's probably where your $100 in savings is. You can see the seam line running straight through the body right here. It's kind of hard to show it on camera, but that does mean, hey, it looked like a 2-piece top, and I fully believe that, but no, there is a 3rd piece right here. Now, are you going to see some tonal variances because no maple top versus having a maple top? I think I'll do a quick little sound comparison during the playing demo. But our pickups within the circuit read 7.44 k ohms in the bridge position. Oddly, the neck reads 4.43. That seems obnoxiously low. And then 2.77 in the middle. So what's going on with the neck pickup over here? Well, it's something I didn't tell you. This actually has coil splitting features. So normally it would match 7.27 and 7.45 in the bridge. But you can also split each of those for about half the readings. But check out this cool mahogany wood grain. I really like this area right here because it has a little bit of a chatoyant effect to it. That's like the dancing in the light, in case you're not familiar with that term. And I've seen some examples on like Sweetwater's website that has like exceptional figuring, especially with that sunburst finish one. You can see it a little bit more. I will definitely tell you, this finish, fingerprints just stick to it. They're very obvious. So if that bugs you, maybe go for the flame top that hides that a little bit better. But now let's talk about the bridge and tailpiece system on this guitar. That was kind of fascinating. So the bridge looks like this. It's nice and rounded over. You don't have any sharp edges. Looks like that on the back. But you've got these nice brass saddles. And then your post secures into the body using a stud. But this looks just like a regular thumb wheel screw setup, but it's not. It's actually all one solid piece. So it's just like a regular Nashville style bridge setup. It just kind of looks like an ABR1. That's kind of cool. Then the tailpiece is ultra lightweight, and it's fascinating because the string, you lay it in there and then you move it up and the ball end of the string gets caught underneath there. Most tailpieces, they don't have that top side showing, so it's the pressure of the strings that keep the tailpiece into place. So these don't actually set the height of the bridge like they normally do. They're only there to secure this directly to the top. But over here, we've got 2 volumes and 2 tones. However, I was messing with these knobs, and this one, it drags against the body. Now, if you get yours and it's doing the same thing, you could probably lift up on this knob just a little bit, but maybe PRS can look into either getting a shorter knob or recessing the body a little bit. You can see this one has a little bit of recessing done right there, so maybe they need to do a little bit of that right here. But the rest of the knobs turn quite nicely. The push-pull pots are definitely faster than the other pots that they're using for the volumes. But moving on from that mahogany body, we've got a mahogany neck with a rosewood fretboard. So as far as the QC goes on this, I did see some tooling marks in this area, like right here. And I'm wondering if that comes when like they're kind of beveling the edge of the fretboard, if that's even something they do. But you can kind of see how it reflects the light a little bit differently. Something's definitely caught the wood a tad. Then I also noticed that this particular example had some like dings in the fretboard up here, as well as kind of a larger impression right there. Now, does that affect playability of the guitar? No, but I always view these company-sponsored reviews as a good opportunity for them to, take a deep look at their guitar. It's like a random quality control analysis. I also saw like maybe a little bit of glue residue or something right there. Now, as far as the scale length, the reason why these are called the McCarty 594 is because it's a 24.594 scale length. So it's a little bit shorter than the typical 24 3/4 inch scale length that I demo. And they're also using a slightly rounder radius at 10 inches, whereas a lot of manufacturers are using about 12 inches. We've got a nut width of 1.67 inches, and that increases to 2.09 by the 12th. First fret neck depth of 0.93, that increases to 0.98 by the 12th. They call this the pattern vintage neck, which to me just kind of feels like a slim C. Kind of fattens out just a little bit up here, but definitely just a nice C shape. Here it is on the contour gauge, first fret and 12th fret. It definitely starts to widen up by that 12th fret though. You can definitely see that on the contour gauge. Then the headstock also has a matching cherry stain to the mahogany with the SE logo here. And I really like these tuner tips. Now they look similar to Klusen's, but not exactly the usual colors. It's just a nice plastic cream. But we've got PRS's double acting truss rod right here. Then we've got a black nut here. And this is kind of a small nitpick thing. You can actually feel the binding on the edges. It sticks out just a hair. And like if you're feeling the neck, you can definitely feel it. It's like the nut is just a little bit too small. But again, does it affect playability? No, because unless you're handling your guitar, just moving it around, you're never gonna be up there. But moving on to the back here, we already talked about all the pieces of wood, but you've got that comfort carve back here, and here's what the electronics cavity looks like. You've got Alpha branded pots for your volumes, and here's what your push-pull pot tones look like. It's all been shielded off. It's definitely an interesting choice to have your back plates stick up off the back though. It's just different from what I'm used to. But we've got the output jack on the side, strap buttons in your usual locations, the other one being up here. And then this is a nice design. You've got a sloped heel, and it's all rounded over, so it should be pretty easy to play in the upper registers. But here's what the back of the neck looks like here. And this one is also multi-piece, so we got 1, 2, there's probably a third one, I'm not sure. This finish is so reflective, it's hard to show you. But these are created by Cortec Musical Instruments in Indonesia. And here's what the backside of those tuners look like. Let's take a quick look at the flametop version as well. I didn't realize this. It actually doesn't have binding. So that is another difference besides just having a maple top. This is just the maple top exposed. Whereas the black one we looked at actually has real binding. But I really dig the maple wood grain that we've got going on here. But I was more so talking quality control wise. I tried this knob, and this one's just fine on this example. It's this knob that drags on this example, so maybe it just varies on the types of knobs that they have. But the whole binding on this one, it does stick out a little bit further. I would actually say this one's borderline uncomfortable. But again, generally, you don't have your thumb anywhere near this area. It's just something I noticed. It's a little bit more flush on this side. I'm not seeing any of those divot marks, and I'm not really seeing any of the tooling marks either, so I guess that just might vary example to example. But this finish makes it very obvious it's a 3-piece mahogany neck. So that's probably what the other one is. I really like the back on this one. Some cool wood grain going on. But all said and done, this one weighs 7 pounds, 10.3 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how these pickups sound. Right away. That's the clean tones, by the way. So, liking that bridge pickup already, let's try the neck. Alright, that sounded pretty good. Now our middle position. Alright, I'm impressed with these pickups clean. I don't know if it's the mahogany top giving it that really mid-range growl. But now let's try that in coil split mode. Almost has a slight piezo-like sound to it. As far as the middle position goes, I think the best sounding one is your bridge split with neck and full position. Because here it is, full humbucking. Cool, let's kick on some dirt. say that sounds pretty good. Now let's compare it to the maple top. Alright, so right away in the room, I do hear more brightness, which usually people say putting a maple top makes an electric guitar brighter. I don't know. Most of it comes down to the pickups, but they are exactly the same between the two different models. Now that we know all about the new SE McCarty, what are my final thoughts on these? I was pleasantly surprised the way that these things sound. I mean, that's why you buy a PRS, right? It's the way they play, feel, and sound. They know how to make some really nice pickups. I mean, this has that vintage growl to it. This was exactly what I wanted to play today. So besides a few small QC issues that we found on this particular example, the only other thing I really have to say is straight out of the box, the action was a little bit high, so I dialed that down and I did condition the fretboard of this particular one. I did lower the action of this one, but I did not condition the fretboard, and the feel difference really is night and day. Now, as far as the tones, I'll let you decide based on the direct recordings. I mean, it was the exact same settings. I didn't mess with anything. However, to make each guitar sound its best, you probably should dial it in a little bit more. So overall, would I suggest one of these at this price? I felt this one was very competitive to other guitars that I've played around the same price range. I mean, this one is a little bit more expensive, but it definitely has a little bit more of a premium feel. And what I mean by premium feel is the frets. They're so polished on this. They're not scratchy like sometimes you'll find on Epiphones. And I'm not knocking Epiphones, but those guys usually need a fret polish right out of the box. But this one, it feels like a high-end guitar. So outside of just personal preference setup-wise, this was perfect. But for like $125 more, is it worth it to step up to the maple top? I'll leave that up to you. If I was just looking for a gigging guitar, I'd probably go with the hog top because you get to save a little bit of money and it's a little bit more unique. And if you're wondering why the ball ends of the string are poking out on this one and not on that, it's because I put it back on upside down. That's my bad. All right, troglodytes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.